What's up, y'all? My name is Cordell, aka Hot Cocoa, and today I'm talking to you about the Yamaha FGDP-50. Yamaha just gave me one of these recently, and I thought it was time for me to check it out. I played with this stuff inside, but you know me, if you've seen this channel, you know I want to get squelchy and squanchy and bassy and put some hot cocoa flavor to it. So I decided to make a custom drum rack, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. So if that sounds cool, take a look. So this is Yamaha's first time making a piece of hardware that's specifically for finger drummers. What they decided to do was rethink finger drumming from the ground up, because almost every piece of finger drumming hardware uses a 16-button grid or a 4x4 grid or an 8x8 grid. There's a lot of variations, but it's almost always just a square made of smaller squares. What Yamaha decided to do was look at the human hand and the shape and feel and the length of fingers and opposable thumbs and all of that, and make a layout that really is designed for the hand. I have mixed feelings about this because I learned how to finger drum on these grids, on these squares, and so this is actually set up really differently than I'm used to. They actually have a recommended way of playing with this particular layout. They always have this kicks on the bottom, the snares on the middle, and this giant button here, and they recommend that you play the kicks and the snares with your thumb. And I guess this is through their research and development how they found to be the most ergonomic way to play. I did give it a shot. It sounds a little bit like this. So I can drum in the way that they suggest, but I've just spent years developing my own style and my own layout. I have a video on that if you want to check it out, how I actually lay my drums out and where I go. But generally speaking, I put my kicks on the right side on the top and my snares on the left side at the top. And I put all my hi-hats and wubs and things in the middle, and I put my crashes at the bottom, which is exactly the opposite of how they've set it up. They always put their kicks on the bottom and their crashes at the top. You can customize where the sounds are inside their stock kits, but I figured since I'm going to be redoing the layout and I want to use my own sound design anyway, that I would just make my own custom drum rack. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to break this down for you in 3 phases. First, you've got the prep phase, then you've got the assign phase, and then you got the play phase. Let's get into some prep. First things first, if you're going to make your own custom kit, you need to get the sounds that you're going to play with. In my case, I'm going to use a bunch of sounds from my own Hot Cocoa sample packs. Check the link down in the description if you want to use some of these yourself. And actually, this whole drum rack and the project file that I'm using for this and the samples itself, you can actually get on my Patreon if you want to just play this exact same thing. So you can find the link in the description for that as well. So I am designing this drum rack inside of an Ableton drum rack, but you can do this with any DAW or software really. As far as I can tell, the Yamaha FGDP-50 and the 30, they can't layer multiple sounds in one pad. It's just like one and done. So if you want layered sounds, you're gonna have to layer them beforehand and then record that in. Once you've picked your samples, you've designed how they want to sit and how they relate to one another, you've recorded all your samples out, then you just want to get them organized. What I like to do once I've recorded things in arrangement view is drag them over to clip view and then highlight all of them and hit crop. Then if you right click on the waveform, you can go to view and finder, and it'll show you all these cropped clips already in a folder together. And if you highlight all of them, you can actually do batch renaming, which is really helpful. I don't know how to do it in PC, but in Mac it's right here. This is going to be really helpful because to find your sounds inside the Yamaha FGDP, you're going to want to know what they're called. So I would definitely recommend naming them and keeping track of that. Once you've named all your files, what you'll need to do is drop all of these files onto the base layer of a flash drive. And by base layer, I mean it can't be inside of any folders. It needs to be on the ground floor. And once you've done that, you're ready for the next phase. Let's assign all of these sounds to pads in the Yamaha FGDP. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is actually load these sounds onto the hardware itself. So you just plug the flash drive into the back right here. You'll hit the menu button and then cycle your way over to File. Once you get to File, you'll hit Enter, and you can cycle your way over to one sample if you just want to load a single sample. But in our case, we're going to go over to All Sample and hit Enter. This is going to load all of the samples that are on that base file level of the flash drive into the Yamaha. Hit Enter and let those bad boys load up. Now that we've got everything loaded, we can actually assign these sounds to our kit itself. So what you want to do is hit the Kit button and make your way using the plus or minus signs over to one of our user kits. In this case, we'll go to user 3. And the user kits come loaded with a bunch of stock sounds. So what you want to do is, if kit is highlighted, you'll hit the right arrow button until you get to voice edit. This means you're editing the voice of each pad. And now at the top it says category. This is referring to the type of sound or the category of sound. So use the plus sign to go all the way to the end. Ignore all these stock categories and find the one that says user samples. Once you're at user sample, hit the right button at the top and that'll put you into the number section. And this is when you can use plus and minus to cycle through all of your loaded samples that we put on the Yamaha earlier. So in this case, just go through and pick whatever sound you want to be on that particular pad. This is why I said it's really important to name everything well so you can tell what is what. So once you've got that sound loaded, you can just hit another pad and start this whole process over. Category, all the way down to user samples, right button so that you can then cycle through and find the sample that you want. Once you've gotten all your pads loaded up with the things that you want, you can start to add effects and kind of customize the way these lay out. One that's really important for me is the choke feature. Choke just means when one pad plays and then another pad is hit, that the first pad will stop playing so that things don't overlap. To do that, you'll need to hit the Kit button again and then go over to Pad Edit. Hit Enter and cycle over using the arrow buttons to choke group. Then you just hit the pad that you want to choke and pick the choke group that it's on. It has a whole bunch, like more than I would ever need. I rarely use more than like 4 or 5, so you just pick the one that you want. For example, I'm putting all my big bass 808s onto choke group 1. I'm putting all my wubs, my smaller wubs, onto choke group 2, and I'm putting all my big crashes that have chords on them into choke group 3. Now I found even being on the same choke group for my playing style, it still wasn't sounding quite right. There was still a little bit of overlap. The way I found you can solve that is you cycle over to choke mode using the right arrow button, and now what you can do is go through each pad, and I chose send and receive. I think this has something to do with sending signal and receiving signal when it's choking, but I found with send and receive, it's the most similar to choking things in Ableton, which is what I'm used to. If you're feeling extra flavorful, you can hit the Kit button again and cycle over to Kit Edit and add extra reverb and flare and really get as crazy as you want with it. Once you're happy with the way everything is set up within your kit, hit the Kit button one more time, hit Enter, which will prompt you to save, and then hit Enter again. This will allow you to save the kit, which is important because that was a lot of work that we just did for all of those pads. And then you can, of course, go through and name your user kit so that you can keep track of the different kits that you've made. After you've done that, you can actually register this kit to one of these 4 buttons, and this will let you recall that whole kit really quickly instead of cycling through all of your kits. It only lets you do 4, but that's decent enough. So if you're over in some other type of stock kit that it has, you can hit this registered button and it'll go straight to the kit that you designed. The last thing you need to know before we actually get outside and do something with this is how to record what you've done. It's really simple. Once you actually have your kit loaded up, you're ready to play, just hit the record button once. It'll flash, that means it's on standby. Then hit the record button a second time and you're recording. As long as that flash drive is plugged in, it'll record everything that you're playing in audio form straight to the flash drive itself. And at that point, you're ready for the next phase to go somewhere cool and play what you made. I decided to go into the garden right behind my studio, which is one of my favorite places in the world. I hit record and I went to work. If you thought that was cool or helpful, you can let me know in the comments down below. You can also like and subscribe and hit the bell and all those fun things. And if you really want some of these sounds for yourself, there's links down below for you to buy sample packs that were in here or a bunch of other sample packs that I got released, other different types of crazy bassy drum racks. And if you join my Patreon, you can actually have this exact drum rack for yourself. Till next time, peace. Thank you.